most creative scores in the W.
Starting to go on a rampage here. They've cut it to 5.
And with the first overall selection in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks are very proud to select from the Regina Pats, the Western Hockey League, Connor Bedard.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic and Everything Chicago Sports Related podcast. Today is a bad day. It's a very bad day. We had so much optimism. We had so much hope, as we normally do as Bears fans, and just not hitting the mark, not hitting the standard, not hitting where we want to be right now as a franchise and as an organization going into year 2 of this rebuild. Just not at all where we want to be. And right now, the Chicago Bears, after losing and getting skull fucked by the Minnesota Vikings, the Justin Jefferson-less Minnesota Vikings, but Justin Jefferson obviously missing this game after being put on the IR with an injury. You know, there was so much optimism, there was so much hope, and to lose this game 19-13 was just absolutely heart-wrenching. I mean, it wasn't at all what we wanted to see from this organization. It wasn't at all what we wanted to see from this team, and there's so many things that went into it. But one thing that I was the most upset about, and something that's been bothering me, is I don't want to sit up here and name drop, but I listened to a lot of morning radio shows this morning while I was at work, and on my way to work, I'm listening to everybody talk about, you know, what went wrong and where we need to go moving forward. And it seems like Justin Fields has become the scapegoat of what's wrong with the Chicago Bears right now. I mean, respectfully, I listened to what Dave Kaplan and Jay Hood had to say today, and it was kind of just disgusting. I was disgusted by it. You know, I love those guys so much. They're one of my favorite guys to listen to, Waddle and Sylvie as well, on ESPN. They do amazing things. But I was so baffled by the way Cap talked literally a week ago after the win against Washington to now. And it just felt like a fan type opinion, a fan type atmosphere. He was talking with his heart, not with, you know, how he actually felt. There were a lot of things that went into it, and we're going to break down the game and more. But one thing that bothered me was, you know, we talk about Justin as a quarterback, and we talk about what Justin Fields has been for the Chicago Bears. And I feel like at the end of the day, what we don't talk about, though, is the history of the Chicago Bears. I want to make this perfectly clear, because I don't want it to get misconstrued into me making excuses for Justin Fields. This goes for every single quarterback that's ever played for the Chicago Bears in the 21st century. We do the same thing every single year. We have the same conversation every single year, more times than not. The Chicago Bears have not had a consistent, legitimate offensive line since the Rex Grossman era, since the Super Bowl of 2006. I mean, that's just the reality. And, you know, whether it was Jay Cutler or Josh McCown or Matt Barkley or Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Tyson Bagent, or whoever else it's going to be, Caleb Williams, whatever guy you want to throw into it. You know what? Whether you like Justin, whether you like Tyson, fuck it. And maybe you hate both of them. Maybe you want Caleb. Maybe you want Sanders. Maybe you want May. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what I notice and what I realize is the offensive line is never bought into. Everything else you could, hey, listen, Jay, we got you B. Marsh, Alshon Jeffrey, Matt Forte, Martellus Bennett, Zach Miller, and so many others. Lance Briggs, Brian Urlacher, Peanut Tillman, Tim Jennings on the defense, Robbie Gold. We got everything for you except a head coach and an offensive line. We don't do that. Nope, we can't give it to you. We got Mark Trestman and a bogus, banged-up offensive line. Roberto Garza and Kyle Long, outside of that, really nothing was going on. You know what I mean? And I think that's really the conversation that I want to get at. Yes, I want to sit up here and say Justin Fields is not great. Justin Fields is not good right now. Justin Fields has not played good. It really is just one of those things to where you need to sit up here and be real about the situation. Is he good right now? No. Did he play great against bad teams? Yes. And that's exactly what we wanted to see from him. Did this offensive line look great against bad teams? Yes. And that's exactly what we wanted to see from this O-line. But when we go up against teams that are better coached and not great talent, the Minnesota Vikings don't have great talent, but they do lead the league in blitzes. Brian Flores does a great job of sending the house because he understands his secondary is the weak spot. So if you send the house, fuck it. You know what I mean? It's gotta benefit you at some point, but it also is the reason they're 1-5. Or 2-4 now? But with that being said, you have that conversation and you say, what is one thing that remains the same? No matter what quarterback it is, no matter what head coach it is, the offensive line always remains the same. I saw Eddie Barstool say this the other day or this morning. I forget exactly the exact quote, so don't quote me on this, but he basically goes, we have put up with Cody Whitehair being subpar at snapping the ball and being under center for years. And for whatever reason, we're all just like, that's fine. You know what I mean? And, here's my biggest thing. Lucas Patrick, the man is a criminal. The man is a thief. Whether he's on the Packers, whether he's on the Bears, whatever organization he's with, he's always banged up. He can never do his job to the best of his ability. And it's just one of the more frustrating things in the world. Tevin Jenkins, how often is he going to be on the field? He's been banged up since he came into the league, 20-something years old with a back surgery already, two strained calves, and the beginning of the training camp. What are we talking about? Being real? Here's being real. Larry Borum, Braxton Jones, backups at best. Backups at best. Maybe Braxton Jones can be serviceable. Backups at best. Abby, I promise you, we are going to get into an MLB show, by the way, as well. In our next show tomorrow, we will be talking everything MLB. I hope you can tune in for that one. But right now, we're just doing a Bears recap. But and then obviously you got Darnell Wright. He's a rookie. He looks better than anybody else on the team, and that's saying something. That is saying something. You're a rookie who went to Tennessee. Is looking better than anybody else, GBO, but looking better than anybody else. It's baffling. It's mind-boggling. And Darnell Wright did not look great yesterday either. And a big part of that is they kept sending the house. Guys are collapsing. Things aren't going right. Cole Kmet has cinder blocks on his feet. Glued his hands together. Awful. Absolutely awful on all cylinders. After a huge contract extension, maybe he's spending too much time doing little podcasts with Adam Hogue and everybody else, and that's the big reason why he doesn't have success right now. I don't know. Couldn't tell me. No idea. There was no shot at Adam Hogue or anybody else, but it's just so frustrating when I see everybody else focusing on all these different things, and then they get on the field and they play awful. They play horrible. And you sit up here and you wonder why every single week. Why can't we do the things we want to do? I'm watching the film on Robert Tonyan in Green Bay versus in Chicago. I challenge anybody. Go watch film on Robert Tonyan, his usage, his mechanics, his body mannerisms, his body language when he was in a Green Bay Packers uniform versus in a Chicago Bears uniform. It is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Now, yeah, he was tight end 1 versus tight end 2 now. But, it's relatively the same. They are not utilizing any of these guys properly. Right now, I look at what happened yesterday. Let's get through it. The Chicago Bears defense did not have a bad day whatsoever. Kirk Cousins was 21 for 31, 181 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Alexander Mattison had 18 carries for 44 yards. Cam Akers, 1 for 8. Powell had 1 for -1, and Kirk Cousins 2 for -5. We literally held them to under 60 yards rushing and under 200 yards passing. And we could not get a win. We could not get a win. TJ Hawkinson had a great drive, a great couple of drives, and that was pretty much it for him. 6 receptions for 50 yards. KJ Osborne had a good day, 4 for 48. Alexander Mattison, 4 for 28. Jordan Addison, 3 for 28 and a touchdown. He was the only touchdown of the game for the Vikings. I'm a big Jordan Addison fan. I wanted him on the Bears, but it is what it is. You look at that and not having Justin Jefferson's presence there is so key. It was a ball game. You look at the Bears. Let's talk about the passing yards. 6 for 10 from Justin Fields, 58 yards, 0 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Rushing, Justin Fields was 8 carries for 46 yards, zero rushing touchdowns. Just wasn't a great day from Justin Fields whatsoever. The first half, he did not look great at all. He looked like a shell of himself. He looked like he was taking a step back. It was just super frustrating to see that from him. And it's one of those things where it's like, after the last 2 weeks, this is what you're going to give us. That is fucking crazy, bro. Then obviously he dislocates his thumb, 5 sacks by the Minnesota Vikings defense. 5 sacks. He dislocates his thumb. He leaves the game. He can't grip the ball. Right now we're sitting in a point to where we don't know if he's even going to play against the Las Vegas Raiders this Sunday. Tyson Bagent comes in. He goes 10 for 14, 83 passing yards, a QB sneak for a rushing touchdown, his first NFL touchdown, and an interception that was so awful, and one underthrown ball that was just bad. I mean, it was just bad. Everything was bad. Tyson Bagent, he had a minute, and everybody else was talking about it as well, man. Like, we all had a minute where we were like, hey, maybe he's the guy. Hey, maybe he can do it. And then very quickly we were like, all right, never mind. There's a reason. I also want to throw in a random stat. I know coaching is different. I know situations are different. PJ Walker, the quarterback that Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, and Luke Getsy said looked horrible, and Bears fans, including myself, said looked horrible all preseason long, just got his first win with the Cleveland Browns. He has just as many wins this year in one start as the Bears do all season, as the Bears have in the last year, and he beat the San Francisco 49ers without Nick Chubb. It was just him and Kareem Hunt, who was on his couch 3-4 weeks ago, just hanging out, waiting for a call. They just carved him up. Amari Cooper, that was it. David Njoku, who just got set on fire just a couple weeks ago. They just carved him up. That was it. That's all she wrote. And you know what I mean? It's not that PJ Walker is good, and I'm not mad about that, but it's just the conversation of we have done so much to try to get a win. And here's somebody's comment right here. PJ Walker looked bad yesterday. PJ Walker looked bad yesterday, and they still won the game. We have so many more pieces than that offense in Cleveland. DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet. I mean, let's be real. I understand going into this game, no Khalil Herbert, no Roschon Johnson, missing a couple other guys, St. Brown, Terrell Smith, a couple other guys are missing. But come on. With Justin Fields, we need to be better. With a franchise quarterback, that's quote unquote, we need to be better. There's no way that PJ Walker can look that bad in a game, still beat one of the best teams in football. I get it. CMC went down. I get it. Debo went down. They still have George Kittle. They still have Brandon Ayuk. They still have Brock Purdy and, Elijah Mitchell and all these different pieces. Kyle Shanahan, one of the better defenses in the NFL, and they still got beat. We can't beat Justin Jefferson-less Minnesota Vikings with Kirk Cousins at the helm, who threw under 200 yards and they rushed less than 60. It's just mind-boggling, man. And I hear it. My bad, you guys. My bad for being muted. But I hear what Adam Hogue and I hear what, David Kaplan and Jay Hood and Sylvie and Waddle and everybody else had to say. I hear everybody. I understand. Fields has not been great. I am not going to sit up here and support him. I am not going to sit up here and say that this needs to work and this needs to happen and it's Justin Fields or bust. But I'm going to ask you this. What happens when we draft Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick and we do not fix the offensive line? And 2 years go by and we say, all right, it's a make it or break it year, just the same way we did with Justin Fields, the same way we did with Mitchell Trubisky, and it doesn't work out. So then, okay, fine. Let's bring in Nick Foles. Let's bring in Tyson Bagent. Let's bring in Andy Dalton. Let's bring in all these different guys, and it doesn't work out. Then what? When do we address what it takes to be a championship caliber team? You saw Jalen Hurts yesterday in the Eagles' loss. Their offensive linemen go down. He looks awful. He's scrambling. He's running for his life. I'm not saying the offensive line makes Jalen Hurts who he is. I'm saying it allows him to be who he is. Justin holds the ball for way too long. And I've talked about this time and time again. I believe he's stuck in an Ohio State mentality. I call it the OSU mind block. The OSU mind block is when you're at Ohio State or you're at a pristine college where you have number one wide receivers all over and you're playing kind of subpar talent, you have a 5 to 6 foot window to make a throw. Guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba, guys like Chris Olave, guys like Garrett Wilson, guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., they have a huge window because they're just better. They're better than the defensive backs that they're playing against. Justin holds the ball so long because he's waiting for that window, when in the NFL, 5 to 6 feet becomes 5 to 6 inches at best. You have to force those windows as a quarterback. You need to force those windows as the leader of this team, as the quarterback of this team. And I think that's one of the biggest flaws right now of Justin Fields is I think he's in that OSU mind block and he's having that conversation of, listen, man, they're going to get open. They're going to get open. And then boom, sacked. Then boom, scrambling, running for his life. Then boom, the play breaks away. And then, there's just so many things that fall apart. And when you hold the ball and Dave Kaplan said it, he had a stopwatch on, 7 seconds, and then you dislocate your thumb, just check down. Do what Jay Cutler used to do. Check it down. Check the ball down. Get it in the dirt. You're going to get hurt. Jay learned that very quickly when he missed the NFC Championship game. After that, he was like, fuck it. If my first and second read aren't there, check down. Not doing it unless you can get for the play. But I'm seeing Justin Fields run up the middle in the first 2 seconds. It's crazy. My guy Ray Bonds in the comments right now, he is a Washington Commanders fan. He said, way to go Bears, way to capitalize off the momentum. Ray, I don't want to hear it, bro. Don't want to hear about it. Just hold that L. You know what I mean? But Ray's right at the same time. Ray's right at the same time. And, this was a situation for me where the Bears should have won 3 games in a row. You should have beat the Denver Broncos. You beat the Washington Commanders. And then you got blessed that Justin Jefferson missed this game. Blessed. That's what it is. We know what Justin Jefferson does into Chicago every single year since he's been in the league. Absolute dog. Justin Jefferson would have had 200 yards alone. Without him, Kirk Cousins has 181. Like, that's fucked up. But it's real. He's one of the best wide receivers in the game. We could have capitalized on it. We could have beat a 1-4 team. We could have been what? What is that? If we just went 3-0 in the last 3 weeks, we would have been 3-3 right now. We would have been 500. That would have been everything. That's a whole different season. That's a whole different mentality. I mean, come on, man. Deontay Foreman looked great in this game. I will say that. I was very happy to see him get enough pull. But again, Foreman's doing great, and then you throw in Evans randomly. Stick to the hot hand. Stick to what's working. For the Bears, going into this game, like I said, Tyson Bagent, 10 for 14, 83 yards passing, 1 interception, and a rushing touchdown. Deontay Foreman, 15 for 65 on the ground. Justin Fields, 8 for 46. Evans had 9 for 32. Velus Jones, 2 for 15. Tyson Bagent, 2 for 4 with a rushing touchdown. DJ Moore, 5 for 51. Darnell Mooney, 2 for 48. Tyler Scott, 2 for 12. He had a great comeback route. Tyler Scott really did save Tyson Bagent on that one play. Robert Tonyan, 1 for 11. Cole Kmet, love to see it, 2 for 9. Velus Jones, 1 for 5. Foreman, 1 for 2. Evans, 1 for 2. Blasingame, 1 for 1. Trent Taylor, zeros are on the board. TJ Edwards had a sack in this game and a fumble recovery that we're not even going to talk about because that fumble recovery is keeping me up at night. Jaquan Brisker had half a sack in this game, and that was pretty much it for the Bears defensively. I mean, it just wasn't a great game whatsoever. Jack Sanborn was all over the field. Oh, and you know what? I actually totally escaped my mind. Shout out to Tremaine Edmonds, who got his first interception as a Chicago Bear. Can't believe that just escaped my mind. But that was a bright side. The linebacker core looked a lot better in this game. They really neutralized TJ Hawkinson for the majority of the game, except for a couple of drives. But they really were just the best versions of themselves. But, it's definitely something right now for me. I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed more than anything. This team is in a spot right now to where there's a lot of questions. Here's the reality. Ryan Poles was hired, and less than 48 hours later, so was Matt Eberflus. I doubt he made that hire. We already know that. Justin Fields was inherited to Ryan Poles. So going into this offseason, I've heard a lot of people say, hey, Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, whoever else, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, the Phillies offensive coordinator, whoever you want to throw in. I've even heard Shedeur Sanders and Prime Time. I've heard it all. But the reality is, I feel like, as a first-time GM, you want a head coach that you actually have time to pick, and you want a quarterback that you pick. It's so many questions. But again, I just think it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. If you don't address this offensive line, it's never going to matter. It doesn't matter who you stick in here. You got to address the O-line. You got to bring in superstar talent. You got to either bring it in through free agency or you got to bring it in through the draft. And it's like Darnell Wright is a great stepping stone. But everybody else looks bad for different reasons. Cody Whitehair, he's old as dust. Respectfully, he's old as dust. Lucas Patrick can't stay healthy. Tevin Jenkins can't stay healthy. Larry Borum's a backup. Then you have guys like Braxton Jones who are kind of the middlemen, not too high, not too low, kind of in the middle. Serviceable. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. But that's all I got for you guys today. It's our Bears therapy session, man. We don't know what's going on with Justin Fields. We don't know the status of him. We do know that it was a dislocated thumb. We are going to see what happens throughout the week if he can continue to get progress in gripping the football, getting better mechanics with his fingers, and just overall just that right hand and just getting that better. So we'll see what happens with all that. Maybe Tyson Bagent starting against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday against Devontae Adams and presumably Jimmy Garoppolo, I would imagine, but I don't know if he's still in concussion protocol. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys for listening. If you're new here, smack that follow button for me. It definitely does help me out a lot. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at theshy.kid for daily Chicago sports content. Until next time, I'll check you guys out. Peace.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.